Welcome to ASJ
Hi
Amazing.
everyone, welcome back to ASJ Amazing. Today we are going to see how to balance a chemical equation in very short time. So let us start from the basic. So what exactly is a chemical reaction? A chemical reaction is a process in which one or more substances react, also called as reactants, are converted into one or more different substances known as products. So let us see an example here. H2 plus O2, hydrogen reacts with oxygen to give us H2O, which is water. Here H2 and O2 are reactants, whereas H2O is the product. So let us see what exactly balancing a equation means. A balancing equation or a balanced equation is an equation for a chemical reaction in which the number of atoms for each element in the reaction and the total charge in the same for the both reactants and products, which means the number of atoms on the left hand side would be equal to the number of atoms on the right hand side, which means number of reactants atoms and number of products atom will be equal. So let us see an example here. 2 mg plus O2 gives us 2 MgO. Here 2 is coefficient and this 2 is subscript. And we must keep in mind we can only change coefficient, we must not change the subscript, because if we change the subscript we will change whole chemical composition. We have to keep that in mind. Alright. So why should we balance the equation? Why is it important? We must balance chemical equation because we must hold good the law of conservation of matter or mass. As we know, matter cannot be created nor destroyed in a chemical reaction. So if there are different number of atoms on left hand side and different number of atoms on right hand side, that doesn't hold good this law. So we must balance a chemical reaction to follow the law of conservation of matter. Now let's see how to balance any chemical equation using an ordinary method, that is also called as hit and trial method or trial and error method. So first of all, what is this method and how to do it? The addition of coefficients to the reactants and products to make sure there are number of uh, atoms on left hand side are equal to right hand side or product side. Here let's see the example 1, that is our first example. H2 plus O2 gives rise to H2O. Here we write all the elements which are present in the equation and the number of atoms of each element in the LHS and number of atoms of each element in the RHS. As we can see, there are 2 hydrogen and 2 oxygen in left hand side, whereas there are 2 hydrogen but only 1 oxygen in right hand side. As we can see here, hydrogen is balanced whereas oxygen is not balanced, which violates the law of conservation of matter. So we must multiply 2 to the whole compound, which makes the 2 molecules of water or 2 volumes of water. So it becomes 2. This 2 coefficient for any compound will be accepted for whole element, each element in the compound. Like here, this 2 applies for H, which means hydrogen, and this 2 also applies for oxygen. That's why it multiplies with H2. So there becomes 4H2 and 2 oxygen. So in order to balance oxygen, we multiplied 2, but it got disturbed. Hydrogen got disturbed. So we again multiply 2 to hydrogen in LHS to make sure there are 4 hydrogen in LHS and there are 4 hydrogens in RHS. So it becomes 4. So here hydrogen is balanced and oxygen is also balanced. Therefore this equation is balanced. It looks quite simple because it was a very small and simple chemical reaction or equation. So let's see the next example, so which makes a little difficult while following this procedure, and after that we'll see our trick to balance any chemical equation in a SAP. So watch till the end. So here is our next example, that is carbon dioxide reacts with water to give us glucose C6H12O6 and oxygen. So here are the elements present in the equation. So let us write or fill this table with number of atoms present in the LHS and number of atoms present in RHS. So there is 1 carbon, 2 hydrogen and 2 plus 1, 3 oxygen. And in RHS we have 6 carbon, 12 hydrogen and 6 plus 2, 8 oxygen. As we can see here, neither any one of the element is balanced here. So we must follow this order: carbon, hydrogen and oxygen when these three elements are present in the equation. So first of all we will balance carbon. So we multiply carbon with 6, so we get 6 here, and this 6 follows for the whole compound as we see in the previous example. So it becomes 6 carbon, while as it disturbs the oxygen, so 6 2s are 12 plus 1 oxygen, that becomes 13. Now carbon is balanced. Now let's go to hydrogen. Hydrogen, here it is 2 and here it is 12, so we multiply it with 6, so we get 6 here, and we also disturb oxygen again, but we have balanced the hydrogen. So let's see the new count of oxygen. So 6 oxygens plus 12 oxygens, thus making 18 oxygen atoms on left hand side. So as we can see here it is 18 oxygen, while in RHS we have only 8 oxygen. So we add 6 coefficient on the RHS at the oxygen element, so that we will get 12 plus 6. So it becomes 6 oxygen plus 6 into 2 oxygen, thus making it 18. So we have balanced this equation quite fast, but when we do it in the examination or in the test or on the paper, it gets quite long, and it takes a lot of time for thinking where to change the coefficient and what the coefficient should be. So thus we have balanced the previous one, example 2. It did took a lot of steps, that's for sure, but let's see the real trick that I mentioned in the starting of the video. That is the shortest trick you can get to balance any chemical equation in as soon as possible way. So yes, this trick is by variables. So do watch till end to know how we will use the variables in balancing the chemical equation. First of all, let's see our first example itself, that is H2 plus O2 gives rise to H2O. So let's see how to balance this chemical equation in ASAP. First of all, we must take some variables in place of coefficients. That is, we can see here, A as coefficient of hydrogen, B as coefficient of oxygen, and C as coefficient of water. Now let's make some small equations with these variables, and that would really help us to find the real coefficients of the equation. So here in hydrogen and oxygen are two elements present in this equation. First of all, there are 2A, 2 multiplied by A of hydrogen, which gives us 2 multiplied by C hydrogens on RHS. As you we'll make few equations, thus making clear for all of you how to take those equations from our chemical equation. So here 2A equals to 2C. This is for hydrogen element, and 2B, as it multiplies, 2B equal to single C, because there is only one oxygen here, so single C. So we got two equations for our two elements. Now let us assume the coefficient of the largest compound as 1. So here if we observe that compound can be either in the reactant side or the product side. So as I can see, H2O is the largest compound in the whole equation, and it could be either in the left hand side or right hand side. Now presently it is in the product side. So we must assume C as 1, which means coefficient of water, that is H2O, is 1. Okay. Now if C equals to 1, we must substitute in the equations. So 2A equals to twice of 1. So and 2B equal to 1. So B becomes 1 by 2 when we transpose 2 to the RHS. So therefore A becomes 1, B becomes half, and C becomes 1, and this C we have assumed it. From the equations we got A and B, but we can see B's coefficient is 1 by 2, which can't be possible, right? Half molecule of oxygen, we can't accept it, but coefficient couldn't be in that form. So we just multiply with the common number to all those coefficients we got, and we multiply it with 2 so that we can cancel this denominator from to make it a natural number or a natural coefficient. So we must multiply every coefficient so that it makes whole good. The number of atoms should be equal on the both sides. So I multiply 2 with A, which becomes 2, and B is half into 2, which becomes 1, and C is 1. 1 into 2 will be 2. So we have to substitute these coefficients into our A, B, C respectively, which makes 2H2 plus 1O2 gives rise to 2H2O. Here coefficients are changed respectively, thus making it balanced. And you no need to even check if you have done it correctly. 100% surely it will be correct. So let's see example 2 from our previous method. CO2 plus water gives us glucose plus oxygen. So like previous one, we must place some variables here. So ACO2 plus BH2O plus CC6H12O6 plus DO2. Here we have 4. So we have 4 variables. So now from these we must take some equations that would help us. So for C, which is carbon element, there is only single carbon, so 1A, which equals to 6C. Okay, we must multiply it. Now similarly we have 2B equal to 12C and 2A plus B equal to 6C plus 2D. As you can see, 2A oxygen plus B single B oxygen gives us 6C plus 2D. As by this statement you would understood how to frame equations from the chemical equation. Now C6H12O6 is the largest compound I can see, and it holds coefficient as C, so I assume C as 1, and it is the heaviest compound in the equation. If C equal to 1, A becomes 6 of 1, which is A equal to 6. If C is 1, 2B equal to 12 into 1, B equal to 12 by 2, and B would become 6. And if C equal to 1, A equal to 6. If C equal to 1, B equal to 6, and we assume C as 1. So we got 3 variables here. Now we must find the D variable. So here we must substitute values of A, B and C as we got previously. So 2 of 6 plus 6 equals to 6 of 1 plus 2D. So if we simplify, 12 plus 6 equal to 6 plus 2D. 12 plus 6 equal to 6 plus 2D. So 18 equals to 6 plus 2D. If you transpose 6 there, it will minus. So 12 equal to 2D and D equal to 12 by 2, which makes it D equal to 6. Alright, so we have got 3 variables including C as 1, which we assumed before, thus making the equation balanced. As you can see, 6CO2 plus 6H2O gives us C6H12O6 plus 6O2. If you check and verify it, it would really balance, 100% sure, no need to check it though. So we have done a great job. We have seen how to use this variable trick or algebraic trick in the balancing chemical equation. So we know practice puts brain in your muscles. Practice makes a man perfect. So if you practice, you will get more faster, more quicker in this trick using it. So here are some questions you can practice by using the same trick. You should add in a summary way. You should add some variables to every element or compound in LHS and RHS. Create some equations from them, equate them, and assume the largest compound as 1. You will get some variables. Using them, find other variables. If variables come as fractions, multiply them with a common number which cancels the fraction out. So you can try these all 4 problems. Do try and comment below. So thank you for seeing my video, and so share, subscribe if you have not done, subscribe it. Thank you.